In today's Power BI project tutorial, we're going to be looking at how to create this actual versus budget executive dashboard. This is a useful tool for financial analysts as well as executives to get an overview of their financial performance. Here we have the income actual and budget. Here we have a progress donut chart of percentage of income budget. Here we have the cluster column chart showing um, comparison between the income actual and budget. Also, the variance is color coded. Also, here you have information icons to tell you what the different color codes actually means. Over here, we also have the income by project, different projects. So you have the income actual, budget variance, and percentage of income. Here, this is also a progress bar that shows the percentage completed. Also, here you have an information icon to give you more information regarding what the color codes mean. The same thing is applicable for expenses down here. At the top of this particular part, this dashboard is currently showing year 2022, month April, and project ID. This is dynamic in the sense that when I select 2023, for instance, the whole dashboard filters for 2023, and you can see here that the header also changes for 2023. If you're new to this channel, click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification icon to get notified when I post new videos. The link to the project, the Power BI file that I use, as well as the data set that I used in this report, is in the description below if you want to follow along. Let's get started. The first thing we are going to do is to create a background on PowerPoint. This is the background that I used for this report. So to recreate this, I'll click on blank slide, insert shape, cover the whole page with that. Select shape view, select this color, outline, no outline. Then insert another shape. This is going to serve as our header. Shape view, select this shade of blue, outline, no outline. Insert another shape, rounded rectangle in this case. Adjust the edges, extend this, change the shape fill to white, no outline. Then next I'm going to be adding my lines to the market. So I'll first add the first line, hold down Ctrl key so that you get a perfect straight line. Change the color of the line to this. Insert another line. Change the color as well. I will just duplicate this. Then copy the two and paste it down here. Next, I will group all. So Control A, Control G to group everything and save as picture. So right click, save as picture. You're going to be saving this as SVG. Select SVG, select the file name that you want and save it. I'm not going to save this because I already have it saved. Here in Power BI, we're going to import the background that we created on PowerPoint. So I'll click on Format, Canvas Background, Browse, select the image. This is the image here. Set transparency to 0. Image fit to fit. Then we have the background here. So next, you are going to import our data set. Our data set is an Excel file, and this data was generated using ChatGPT. So select Excel workbook, select data set, click open. So I'm going to be selecting the first sheet, which is project monthly performance. Click transform. So this is the data set. I'll rename this quickly to data because the name is quite long. So here we have the month end, and this is our date column. And looking through the data set, I can see that some are in decimal places. I don't want them in decimal places. I want all of them in whole number. So I'll click on this to turn them to whole number, replace current. Here we have the month end. This is currently in text format. So I want to change this to date. So I'll click on this, select date, add as new step. So you can see that we have error here. This error is actually because of the date format itself. So in order to format this, I'm going to be using the local method. So I'll delete this apply step, click on this. Instead of the date, I will select using local, select the data type, which is date in this case. So I'm going to be selecting the format of the date of the data because the date was actually trying to change it to my local format that I have in my system, which is not what the data set is. That is why I got that error. So I'll select the date that matches this particular data set. So I'll select Nigeria. That should be somewhere here. English Nigeria. So you can see that the format of the date matches what is currently here. So click OK. So we have our date. Then close and apply. So this is what our data set looks like here. We have the month end, the project ID, income budget, income actual, expense budget, and expense actual. So I'm going to quickly add the column here for my year. I'll be extracting year from this month end. So I'll click on new column, year, which is equal to year function, month end, column. So we have this here. I'm going to add month name and month number as well. This is just a simple data set. So I'm not going to create a separate date table for it. But it's advisable if you have a large data set, you need to create a date table separately for this. So I'll click on new column. So for month number, 5 month number, which is equal to month function. Then we're referencing the month end date. So I'll create another column for my month name. Month name, which is equal to format the month end function. I mean month end column. Then I want the first three letters of the name the month. So we have that here. The next thing I'm going to do is to create a table for my measures. I'll be creating a couple of measures. So I'll click on enter data, name this table as key measures. Click on load. So the first measure that I'm going to be creating is going to be for the expense actual. So I'll just sum the expense actual column. Right click on key measures, new measure, expense actual is equal to the sum of the actual column. So this is the actual column for expense. So I'll create the same thing for income actual. Which is equal to the sum of the income actual column. Create another for income budget, which is equal to the sum of the income budget column. Then another for income expense budget, which is equal to the sum of the expense budget. So one might be wondering, why am I creating this since they're already there in the column? The reason I'm doing that is so as to be able to use it for what we call measure branching, in the sense that I can reference it in another measure easily without writing out the code. So that's why I like creating that as my basic measures so that I can build more measures on top of that. So next is the expense variance percentage, which is going to be the difference between the expense actual and budget divided by the expense budget. So divide expense actual minus expense budget divided by expense budget, then return zero when you run into divide by zero, close bracket. So I'll create the same for income variance percentage. I will just copy this, right click, new measure, paste it. Then wherever I see expense, you can see they are all highlighted. So click on Shift, Control, and L. Then change everything to income. So we've created for income. So the next measure I'm going to be creating is going to be the measure that I will use for conditional formatting later in this particular tutorial. So for expenses, I will right click on this, new measure. So I'll be using this for the variance conditional formatting. You can see it's referencing the variance measure that we created earlier. Down here, what it is doing is that it's formatting the variance as a percentage here, in the sense that if the variance is greater than zero, add this particular word sign to it. But if it is less than zero, add this sign to it as well. So I'm going to also create this for income variance conditional formatting. So I'll change wherever I see expense to income, just like we did earlier. The next measure is going to be percentage of expense budget used, in the sense that we check the percentage for our progress chart. So we want to find the percentage of the expense budget that has been used already. Percentage of expense budget, which is equal to divide expense actual divided by expense budget. Then where you have divide by zero, return zero. So I'll create this also for income. I'll just copy this, new measure. For income, I have this as well. So I'll change wherever I have expense to income. So this is for income. So the next measures I will be creating will be the measures that we'll use for our progress bar chart, as well as the progress donut chart. So for the progress donut chart for expense, we're going to be using this measure. So this is like a long one, but when you look closely at it, each part of the measure tells you what it is doing. You have a comment beside it. I'm going to be putting the link to this particular text in the description. It's going to be part of the resources that I will share afterwards so that you can take a closer look at it. This first part shows the whether expense budget or the percentage of the expense budget. And this is where you add that progress value, which is the percentage of the expense budget in our case. And down here, you have like the style, the radius, circumference of the donut chart, and all. Down here, you have color definition. This is the part where I apply the color coding, whereby this is the red color that we're using, amber and green color. Here we have condition. If the progress value is less than 95, give us green color. If it is equal to 95, give us amber. If it is greater than 95, give us red color. Then down here, you have more style. You can go through this file later on, but it's quite explanatory. Then click save. Then I will also create the same for the income. For income, it's the same thing actually for the donut chart, just that the condition will now differ, in the sense that if it is less than 95, it is going to be red instead of green as we had with the expense. But if it is greater than 95, then give us green. So for new measure, this is for the income. Our progress value is also percentage of income budget. Then down here, you can see that the switch statement changed for it as well. If the progress value is less than 95, give us red. If it is greater than 95, give us amber and all. So this is where you put your own condition based on your organization's preference. But and this is the color of the red, green, and amber that we're using. This is the hex code. Down here we have the style for the chart itself. We are using SVG. So click commit. The next one is the income bar chart, progress bar chart as well. It's similar to the donut, but differs based on the shape. In this case, instead of donut charts, we are having a bar, and instead of looking at the circumference, we are just looking at the bar height and width of it. So you have the bar height, and here also you have the color code, which is similar to what you have in the donut chart. And this is progress value 2 here, similar to what we have in the donuts for income. So I'll just click commit. Then for the expense bar chart, which is going to be opposite of the income. So we have this for the expense, similar to the donut of the expense. So I'm going to commit that as well. So next thing I'm going to do, as you can see, we have so many measures here. I'll try to group them so that this file will be easily readable when I hand it over to someone, for instance. So I'll click on model view, click on wherever I have expense, click on it, hold down the control key to select all expense measures. Then display folder, label it as expense. You can see we have a folder for expense. So now we have just income. So hold down the control key and select all income and put that on a folder as well. Now we have a folder for income and we have a folder for expense so that we can easily identify which measure that we're going to be using in our visual. So we start creating our visualization. We start by adding a slicer up here for month, project ID, and year. So I'll click on the old slicer, select year, the slicer setting, I want this to be dropped down, not between. Turn off the background, go to size and style, turn off the background, and where you have the values, I want the color to be white so that it will be visible. The size of the value 10. Where you have the slicer header, I want the size 10 as well, and the color visible, so white. Then the height of the slicer, I want it to be 63, and the width of the slicer to be 140. So place that here, then copy, paste into two more places so that I can have my project ID and month name there. So I'll select project ID. For this one, will be month name. Then this last one will be project ID. I'll select three of them so I can change the background of the value. I can see that the background is still white. So I want to change the background of the value to our blue color thing. So go down to background, change the color, more color. This is the hex code of our blue. Now, if I click on any value, you can see that the background matches. When you click on the month, you can see that the month is not sorted chronologically. So I'll click on our data set where you have month, click on month name, then sort column by month number. That is the reason we created the month number. Now you can see that our data set is sorted now chronologically. Next is to create a card visual for our income actual. So I'll expand the income measure folder, then select income actual, select the new card. So I'll scroll down. This is the symbol of the new card. Adjust this. Then turn on the format painter to format this. Size and style, I want to turn off the background. The height, I want the height to be 187 and the width to be 181. Scroll down where you have colored value. I want the colored value to be 25 and the font to be Segway semi UI semi bold. I also want to change the format. So I'll click on income actual, then display units none, and I'll click on it here in order to make it to be a currency. So I'll select currency format here. Next is to expand the reference label. So we're going to be adding the variance conditional formatting as well as the income budget to the reference label. So I'll select income actual, then select income budget, add also the conditional formatting to it. So we're going to, for income budget, we will change the format to currency as well. Select it here, income budget, scroll down, go to the field name, select custom, remove the income parts. We only want to see budget. Then here we want the font size to be 10. Scroll down where you have value. We want the display unit to display none, like we want to see everything. Then we'll go up to income variance conditional formatting, change the title. We only want to see variance percentage. Then scroll down where you have the value, click on conditional formatting, select format style as rows, then income, select the conditional formatting for income, open income folder. So if the value contains wedge up, so in order to activate this, click on Windows key and full stop. Then select it. We have the wedge up. If it is there, we want the color to be green. So this is the shade of green that we're using. New row. If it contains wedge down, we want the color to be red. So this is the hex code of the red. Click OK. So currently you have it as wedge down and it's working the way we want it to work. The next thing is to rearrange this. So we select all the reference label. Here we have all so that you can have access to this reference label part. So first I'm going to select the layout. Right now it's on rows. So I'll select columns and center align. And for the background, I want the background to be white. Change it to white. Then the divider, I want the color of the divider to be this hex color. On a call out label, scroll up to that part. Then change this is the call out label. Change the color of the font to black. And also the font type to Segway UI semi bold. Next is to add an accent bar on the right hand side of this card so as to give us a demarcation between this and the percentage income budget. So I'll search for accent. You can quickly search for whatever feature that you're looking for because there are lots of features. Turn it on. So right now the position is on the left. I want it on the right, and I want the width to be 1. Also the color, I want the color to be this color. So next is to add a donut chart for our progress for percentage income budgets. So to do that, we are going to first categorize our measure where you have the income donut chart, this measure. So we're going to categorize it. Right now it is uncategorized. So I'll select it as an image URL because it's going to give us an image. Then select a new card, add percentage income budget to it as our data. This is the data. Then where you will now format it, call out value. We want to turn it off, as well as the call out label because we want to only show the progress chart. So we'll turn off those two. Then the size and style, the background, we turn off the background as well. Then the height of this, we want it to be 102 and 113. Scroll down to where you have card so that you can turn off the border and background as well. The next thing is to add image. So for the image aspect, to select that particular percentage of income budget, turn on image. So in this case, we are going to be using the URL that we created, image URL, select the conditional formatting, select the field value, select the measure. We saved it inside income. Here we have a donut chart. So click OK. Now we have it. So you can now drag this to attach to this particular card here. Next is to add a rectangle. So I'll click on Insert, Rectangle. The size 187 307. I'll go to the fill color, set the transparency to 100 so I can see the card. Then click on the rectangle, take it to the back, click on Format, send to the back. Turn off this particular border, then scroll up to where you have the border that belongs to the external part of the shape, then turn that on. The color, I want the color to be this color and branded corners to be 5. So we have this. Next is to add a text box here that will state the percentage income that we have. So I'll click on Insert and text box, percentage of income budget. Adjust this and place that up here. So we turn off the background of this as well so that it will blend. Next is to group everything. So I'll click on all the individual elements that we have, hold down the control key, then click on the shape, control G to group. So we have them all grouped into one card. So I can drag this down here safely and place that here. So we have the first chart. For the expense chart, which is actually the opposite of this, we are going to copy and paste this chart, drag it down here. Instead of income actual, we're going to be having expense actual. So I'll click on this first part of the card, then go to build, remove income actual, select our data for expense actual, place it there. So the interesting thing is that Power BI automatically resets everything. So we have to rebuild that again. So click on expense, set the format to currency, then click on format so that we can add the reference labels. So for reference label parts, we have um expense actual. So we'll be adding expense budget, and expense variance conditional formatting. So select the first one, expense budget, edit the name, change this from expense budget to just budget, font size 10, then select the value part, display unit none. So select the expense budget here, the data itself, so that we can change that to currency, showing as currency now. Then scroll up to where you have the select label part. So we are selecting the expense variance conditional formatting, change the name so that it will only read variance percentage. Then the size 10, scroll down where you have value, just like we did earlier. We're going to add conditional formatting to this as well. And select rules, select the key measure expense variance conditional formatting. If the value contains wedge up, so it actually means that the expense is increasing. So the color we want it to show is red, which is the opposite of what we had in the income part. So we're going to have FF 0000. So add a new row. If it contains wedge down, we want it to show that the expense is reducing. So we'll be using this color code for green. Then the next is to change the expense donut chart. So instead of income percentage, we'll be selecting the expense percentage. And we are going to be adding the image for the expense URL. So we select the donut chart for that. Right now it's uncategorized. We categorize it as image URL. That's the SVG code that we created earlier. So we're going to select the expense, percent of expense budget, select the image URL, select conditional formatting, field value in this case. Then I'm going to select the expense part and expense donut chart. Click OK. So we have this for the expense. So the final thing we are going to do for this particular card here is to change the name. Instead of income, we will have expense. Also here, we'll change the font here from normal UI to semi-bold and make the color black. So next is to create a cluster column chart for income and expense by year. So for that, you're going to click on the cluster column chart, place it here, then go to our data, select income actual and income budget, then by year. Right now, we have year here. I will drag year to the x-axis. And you can see that our slicer, year slicer is filtering this. So I don't want it to filter it. So I'll click on year, format, edit interaction, turn off the filter. Then edit interaction again to turn it off. Then click on the chart itself. Click on format, where you have the x-axis. Instead of the type to be continuous, I want it to be categorical. And I'm going to be sorting axis by my year. I will sort it ascending. So sort axis year ascending. So we start from 2019 to 2024. So I'm going to turn off the title. I don't want the title to show. Size and style. I'll set the height to 261 and the width to 431. Adjust it here. Then scroll down, turn off the background. Then where you have the x-axis title, turn it off. The y-axis title, turn it off as well. So we have this. where you have the legend, we want it to be bottom center and turn up the legend title. And where you have the columns, I want the actual column to be this shade of blue and the budget column to be this shade of blue. So next thing is to turn off the grid lines, horizontal grid line. We have that. Scroll down to where you have data label, turn it on. Then where you have value, turn up the value for both actual and budget. Turn off the value. Then turn on the detail. Select actual. Turn on the detail for that. So we're going to be adding our variance to this, our variance conditional formatting here. So income variance conditional formatting. So we have this. We set the condition, select rules. If income variance conditional formatting, just like we've been doing before, contains wedge up, set it to be green. Then if it is wedge down, that is if it contains wedge downwards, set it to be red. Click OK. So we have that for this first one. Adjust this. Then copy this for our expense. You can see that the slicer is featuring it again. So I'll click on that slicer, format, edit interaction. Do not filter this, edit interaction again. So here, instead of income, we are going to be having expense. Select our expense measure, expense actual, and budget. Unfortunately, we need to format this again because Power BI has resetted everything. So our legend is still fine. It's basically the color as well as the grid lines. So I'll turn off the grid line and the columns for expense actual. We want it to be this blue. Expense budget, we want it to be this shade. Then where you have our data label, we don't want the value to be turned on for any of them. Then select budget, turn on the detail for that, add data for expense variance conditional formatting as a percentage to show there. Then we'll set the conditional formatting, the color code. Rows contains wedge up. So when it is wedge up, it actually means that expense is increasing. So it should be red. Then when it is showing wedge sign downwards, it actually means that expense is reducing. So that should be green. So the next chart is going to be a matrix chart of the different projects with breakdown of their income actual, budget, variance, and all. So to do that, I'm going to click on matrix, drag it to this end, expand my data, and add project ID. So here, the project ID is added to the values. I want it to be on the rows. And you can see that this filter here, the slicer is filtering this, and I don't want that. I'll click on this project ID, format, edit interaction, turn that off, edit interaction to keep that on so that we have all the project listed. Then I'll click on income, then select let me open up the field path so that we can see where it is being placed. Click on the matrix chart. So for my values, I want income actual, income budget, the variance, let me expand it, percentage, as well as the percentage of income budget used. So we're going to also ensure that our income bar chart is in image URL. So just categorize that as image URL so that we can put that image. So I will drag the bar chart into there as well. Just click to take it up. So right now it is here and we're going to adjust the size. So I'll click on the format, scroll down to where we have image size. It is on 75 height and width. So I want this height to be 40 and I want the width to be 100. Then I'll go ahead to turn off all total, both the column grand total and I mean subtotal and the row subtotal. Then I'll scroll up, take this up the more so that it will fill up this particular page. Adjust the individual columns. So we have the individual columns here. So next thing I'm going to do is to remove this title for income bar chart. So to do that, I'll click on build, scroll down to where I have that title, select everything and replace that with dot, full stop, click enter. So right now we don't have that header again. I'll click on this bar. I still want to format it further. I'll click on size and style to turn off the background. Then scroll down to where you have layout and site preset. I don't want any style, so I'll select none. Then where you have grid, horizontal grid, turn it on. Then where you have border, select the color. I want it to be this blue color thing. And this is basically a matrix chart. So I'm going to copy this and paste for expenses. Drag this down here. You can see that it's filtered again by this particular slicer. I'll select the slicer, format, edit interaction, turn off filter. Then select the parameters for expenses. So I will click on the matrix chart, delete all the income parameters that we have on it, leaving just the project ID if something is being filtered. So we have this. Then expand the build part, add expense actual to the value, expense budget, the variance, percentage of the expense budget, then also the expense bar chart, which has also been changed to image URL. You can change that as well. Categorize it to expense bar chart. Then I'll rename it as well. I don't want the bar chart to show. I'll rename it as full stop. So you can see the bar chart here as well. Then I'll adjust the header. So we have our metrics chart. Next thing is to add text box to add our income and expenses here. So I'll click on text box, income, select everything, set the size to 14 and the font color to this blue theme. Change this to Sergio UI bold. Drag it up to this part. Adjust it. Then turn off the background. So I'll copy this, paste it down here as well for expenses. Next is to add icons for the both of them. So I downloaded my icon from icons8.com. I'm going to put the link in the description below. You can check that out. So insert image. So I'm going to be inserting these two images. Insert and select image again. So the first one coming in is going to be for income. Adjust it, place it there. Then the one going out is going to be for expenses. Then we're going to duplicate this again and we add our dashboard title, which is going to be actual versus budget, executive dashboard. And select all, select the size to be 20. Extend this, then drag it up here, select all, and change the font color to white so that it will be visible. So the next thing I'm going to do is to add our dynamic header. Now that we've selected year as 2022, month as April, and project ID as 1054, we're going to add a header here to summarize what is being selected on the slicer. So to help in describing the dashboard further. So to do that, I'm going to be creating a measure. So right click on key measures, new measure. So we're going to be using this measure. What this measure is basically doing, this first part is a concatenate statement whereby the year is constant, but whatever that is selected to on the year slicer on the dashboard, join that with year to give us that particular year. Then the month, same thing is applicable to month. Whatever that is selected on the month name slicer, connect that with month. Whatever that is selected on the project slicer, connect that with project. So click commit. To visualize this particular measure, we're going to be using a normal card. So I'll select build and the old card, then select the measure, dynamic header, place it on that. Let me expand this so that you can see what we currently have. This. So I'm going to format this. Turn off the category label. We don't need that. The colored value, we want this to be reduced to 14. Also, the color. For now, let me just adjust this and drag it to where I want it to be. So I'm going to reduce it further to 12. Then turn off the background, size and style. Turn off the background. And also the color of the callout, I want it to be white so that it will be visible. Adjust this. So now it's describing what is being selected on our slicer. So we have year 2022 selected, month is April, project ID 1054. Then finally, I'm going to be adding information icons in each of these particular columns to help the user of this dashboard to understand the different color codes that we used. So I'm going to click on insert button. We're going to be using the information button. Get that here. Adjust this. So I'm going to format this. On the button style, I want the icon color to be our color theme blue. Then I'm going to turn on the action. So in order to add this information, I'm going to be making use of this tooltip. And these are the information I'm going to be adding. So for the income budget part, I want my user to know that whenever the percentage income budget is showing red, it means that it is less than 95%. Whenever it is showing amber, it is equal to 95%. And whenever it's showing green, it is greater than um, 95%. Also, for the income variance percentage, whenever it's showing green color, it means an increase. Whenever it's showing red color, it means a decrease. So I'll copy this and add it to the text part of our tooltip. So when I hover on that information icon, you can see the information regarding that particular box. The interesting thing about the tooltip is that you can also add, if you want to add more information on it, you can use the conditional formatting part. You can create a measure with more information, then use the conditional formatting to reference that measure. So that when you hover, you have more text here if you want to have more text. So I'm going to add this for each and every one of all these boxes. Here I'm going to talk about the variance. Here I'm going to talk about the percent of income budget, expense, and the likes of it. I will do that quickly. So now I've added the information icons. If I hover on any of them, it gives me more information regarding the color coding used on each of these boxes. This is the end of this report. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this particular video. I would like to know what you think about this report in the comment section. And also check out my other videos. The link is on your screen. Thank you. Bye.
Free audio post production by alphonic.com.